التسبيح والبركة.
أبونا Elias, Abuna Albert, Abuna Etienne, Sister Lara, my brother and sister in Christ. Happy New Year, and I hope and pray 2021 will be a blessed year for everyone, especially after this last difficult, challenging year of 2020. May this year will be filled with good health and happiness, peace and prosperity to everyone. Today, our Maronite Church recalls the story of finding Jesus in the temple when he was 12 years old. It is the only story the Gospel reports about the private life of Jesus between the infancy stories and his public life at the age of 30. The Gospel tells us about the devotion of Joseph and Mary and their observance of the religious obligations. Every year, they used to go to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover. A Jewish boy became a man when he was 12 years old. He became a son of the law. Thus, Jesus also went up with Mary and Joseph, and it was at least in the mind of the Jews to go once in a lifetime, but if you live within the vicinity of Jerusalem or a little bit further, at least to come once a year to Jerusalem as well for pilgrimage. For that reason, Jesus went up with Joseph and Mary. It became a family pilgrimage. People used to go on caravans, especially when the trip takes a long time. Those days they didn't have cars and all the means of transportation like we have it today. Men and women would be also divided according to gender. Therefore, Mary thought that Jesus was with Joseph, and Joseph thought that Jesus was with Mary, because this is the dividing age of 12. However, they found out that he was missing at the time of encampment. They found him, and they started rushing and looking for him, and they went back to Jerusalem. They found him on the third day in the temple, discussing with the Pharisees and the scribes. Hearing and asking questions is a regular Jewish way for a student learning from his teachers. However, Jesus also was answering questions, and people were amazed as well as for him becoming a teacher, a child, as well as a master. From the gospel story, I'd like to draw your attention to a few points that you and we could really meditate and think about it later on. It becomes clear here the divine nature of Christ, in addition to his humanity. Don't you know that I have to be in my Father's house? Christ acknowledging that he is the Son of God and God is his Father. And this is his divinity as well. However, as usual, people did not grasp the meaning of his statements. Some biblical scholars also see similarity between Jesus staying in 3 days in the temple area at the beginning of what we call the first scene of his public life in the private, and also 3 days down the line when he will be in the tomb. And from humanity to divinity, also assurance, as Christ died as a human being, but he will rise up and prove to him, to all the people, that he is the true Son of God on Easter Sunday. It's also an affirmation of the two natures that he has. What's striking in the fact is his obedience to Mary and Joseph. He came home with them and he was obedient to them. Obedience in our world today is strange, and obedience is giving up your freedom and fulfilling the will of others. Usually we have hard time doing that in our own life, and it's never easy. However, it's an essential practice in our journey toward holiness. It's not about I, it's about God, and it's about the will of God in our own life. And today, however, if you want to see good obedience, usually the parents obey their children because they get to the children whatever they want in so many ways. Also, the role of Mary and Joseph. They're devoted parents who loved and cared for Jesus. Joseph did not say a word, but did what God asked of him. And Mary kept all these things in her heart, and I'm sure she probably meditated on them as well. And also at the end, the child grew in wisdom, stature, and grace. It is a balanced growth that is so much needed in our world today. As parents, we emphasize and talk a lot about, education and formation and providing for our children. But have we reflected on our moral formation and religious formation for our children as well? Do we consider faith as an important element in our children's growth as well, and practicing the second and searching for God in our own life? I hope we do so, my brothers and sisters. Dear friends, many see in this gospel a great insight into the life of the Holy Family. They had care, they had harmony, they had love, but they have troubles, challenges, and difficulties as well. That relates to our world today as well. And it's ongoing hardship and struggles we have. But we need to have that serenity. And that serenity is whenever we have God in our own life. How great will it be if every family becomes a domestic church and each family would follow the Holy Family and imitate their way as well. If we do so, our world would be a lot better. إنجيل اليوم هو القصة الوحيدة بحياة يسوع الخفية مع مريم ويوسف. هو ببين لنا يسوع التلميذ اللي بيعرف كيف بيسأل وبيسمع. ببين انه يسوع هو المعلم البارع اللي بيعرف يشرح خفايا معاني النبوءات والأسفار. هو ببين لنا كمان يسوع اللي بيكشف عن هويته الإنسانية والإلهية، عن الطبيعة الإنسانية والطبيعة الإلهية. هو ابن مريم بالجسد، وهو يوسف هو الأب الحامي، وهو ابن الله منذ الأزل، وهو الرب القائد، كما أنه هو الابن المطيع. نتعجب أنه كيف الكتبة الفريسيين تعجبوا بهالولد اللي عمره 12 سنة، كيف بيعرف يسأل وبيعرف يجاوب. بنشوف كمان مريم ويوسف كيف هن تعجبوا انه لاقونا يسوع هنيك. نحن بحياتنا العاديه اليوم شو بخلينا نتعجب؟ نتعجب اذا شفنا التليفون شو بيعمل والانترنت شو بيعمل والقصص وهولي. يمكن نتعجب اذا شفنا عجيبه بالمرشبل او شيء خارقه. لكن هل في عندنا هالاندهاش الروحي بمعنى حضور الله بحياتنا؟ هالعجيبة الأساسية إنه الرب بيصير بالقربين. هيدي العجيبة إنه أنا بندهش كل مرة عم بتناول يسوع المسيح بكله بكليته معي. بتمنى إخوتي أنتوا أنا نعرف فقدنا كتير أيام الوعي لحضور المسيح فينا، وهذا الحضور هو مذهل بالذات. ساعدنا يا رب حتى نفهم أهمية حضورك بحياتنا. خلينا وقوينا إنه نتمم مشيئتك بحياتنا. آمين.